There it is. Welcome back to Everyday Garage, guys. And in this video, we finally get the oil situation worked out. It's kind of nice. Do a little bit of work on the sway bar, get some shocks in, and do a little bit of work on the rear diff. Plus, we get the body back from the sandblasters, guys. We got a lot to get done, so let's get to work. Now, what are we doing today? I think what I want to get done is jump on the rear to start knocking out stuff on a checklist. You know, this is done, this is done. That way, when the body finally comes back, we can, you know, get started on it right away. All right, let's go. Now, over here, I went ahead and already took out the load leveling shocks, and that was a giant pain. I'm going to put a clip of my struggle in right there. And it slips off. Come on. Jeez, that was on there. All that for nothing, huh? Well, I was trying to save these, but you know, oh well. Like all things in the world, can be solved with an angle grinder. There we go. Man. Yeah, and as you can see, it was a pain. And I did have to cut them, but don't worry, guys. I'm going to try my best to save them as best as I can. But what I have now is I went ahead and mocked up the sway bar. So the sway bar sitting here, it's not completely bolted down, but it's basically where it's gonna need to go. My biggest issue is even when it's loose so I can move it up on the axle, it still only gets to about right there. It's pretty far from where it needs to. Because it's supposed to hit just a tab like this and go in there like that. Now I know, guys, that I'm supposed to have that at ride height. The suspension needs to be loaded before I do the sway bar. I just thought it'd be a lot closer than that. Now I do actually have a plan to load the suspension to see if we can do this. But before I jump on that, I want to throw the shocks that I'm gonna use, replacing those load levelers. Now these are the same as the front, the RCD Bilsteins. So this is actually made for this truck. It's their Classics version. The downside is I've already kind of measured it out on that side. They don't fit. Now, it's actually not Bilstein's fault. I actually had originally, when I went to replace shocks in this truck before I put the load levelers on, I had some Monroes, the ones that are exactly for this truck also. Those didn't fit. And now you see that our end links don't fit. And basically, they're too short. I think that when I put the new leaf springs on, that either they haven't settled or they lifted the truck slightly. Now, these are general spring ones. They're exact factory replacement. I've checked everything. I've measured them to the factory. They're exact. So my guess would be that they haven't really totally settled. Even though they're about a year old, the thing is I put the load levers on immediately. And they've pretty much been the suspension for the truck. So I definitely think that these need to basically settle a little bit. Anyways, long story short, talking too much, basically thinking out loud. We're gonna get this on. And on the other side, these little bushings are a tight fit. Hit them with some silicone and see if this will go in. I couldn't get it to go in earlier. Let's try. Yeah, it's dang near impossible. All right, let's try that again, huh? Something like that. Also, what? Look at these bushings. They're not bushings. They're just pieces of rubber cut off. Man, quality is definitely going down. All right, come on. There we go. Now, this is what I mean by it's, you know, not long enough. It doesn't fit. This should be up here about maybe 1.5 inches. This bushing should be setting up against here. That's the problem. Let's load up the suspension and see what happens. Now, to put weight on the suspension, I'm just going to put this Barton bumper on. This thing is in between 3/8 to 1/4 inch steel all the way through. It weighs a little over 100 pounds. I would say closer to 150. And we're gonna put that on, plus a little bit of other things I have to weigh it down, because the bed really, on a generous note, maybe the bed weighs like 400 pounds. Each bedside I can carry my own, and then you just have the front, back, tailgate, and then the wood. So this should get it pretty close, and we'll kind of see what happens. I've already tested the suspension. It definitely moves really easy with the load levelers off. Now if I can just get tall enough, put that in there. Yeah. That made zero difference. All right, let's try to add some weight to it. All right, so that's on, and then I'm taking these super heavy induction motors. These gotta weigh 30, 40 pounds each. Most of them are cast iron. I know this is acting more like tongue weight, and it is putting it over the actual suspension, but it's about all I got right now. Ooh, yeah. Let's just set it here. Okay. It's about as heavy as things are gonna get. Well, it definitely made a huge difference. We're sticking way up now. Sitting over there. You know, this still doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, it's better, but it's just kind of hanging out. We'll look at that in a second. Let's go ahead and try to pop these shocks on. Get these terrible bushings on. I might have to like source some actual bushings. Not quite enough just yet. If I set all 200 pounds of me on here, then we're good. And we're stretching this out. So now the only thing holding this suspension where I want it's gonna be the shocks. Just for now. Okay, shocks installed and they fit fine. So we're gonna go ahead and take that as a win. Already went and got the bottoms already done. And of course this still, you know, doesn't really fit. I'm gonna leave that. I'm not even gonna worry about the sway bar right now. I just kind of mocked it up because I want to see if it fit. But again, you know, we'll wait till all this stuff gets on there. Honestly, I don't even care if that gets installed. I'll get the truck on the road, and then later on when we want to put that in, we will. Let's go ahead and move on to stuff we need to get done because I need to start hitting this checklist. So last but not least, I want to get the diff all sealed up. That thing has been leaking forever. Ever since I re-geared that diff, I've never been able to get it to seal up. Let me take you down here with me, guys. What the big issue is down here. Now, you see these bolts here. Did my light die? These bolts, and then obviously the leaky one coming down here, and this one here, all hold on the pinion bearing. And I'll go ahead and drop a picture of when I assembled it. So that bearing gets held on or in place with these. And as you can see, it's just been leaking everywhere. I don't think the back actually leaks. I'll have to check on it. I just think it's all been pouring down this way. And then the actual cover itself leaks. So let's pull this and actually seal the threads on this, get all this cleaned out, pour out the diff fluid, and just hopefully, you know, get the leaks finally checked off on this truck. Let me just squeeze in here. All right, let's just start by draining the diff fluid out of here. And you know what's funny? A lot of people don't like or like complain about the smell of gear oil. It's never bothered me one bit. Let's go. Yeah. Nice and clean. It was great gear oil. I just changed it, but man, I can't get this thing to stop leaking. New copper washers, new everything. What I do have is also new everything all over again and new bolts because these are old rusty bolts. So we'll get some new stuff in there. All of that RTV and it still wouldn't seal, but it'll hold it on there. Come on. Should have brought a hammer. There we go. Not bad. Now with that draining, we can sneak over here and pop this retaining bolt out. It's just got a 3/4 lock nut that you see here, and then this actual bolt. So I think it's the other way actually. There we go. Let's see if any actual oil drains out of here. And it didn't say to seal these threads, and back when I put this thing together, I didn't even think about it. And as soon as it started leaking, I was like, that was dumb, especially the bottom one. Just because that's where the fluid comes up from the actual diff and lubricates the bearing. Yeah, I figured there was going to be more oil there. Let's grab that, and that is what it looks like, guys. Kind of conical, and it sits up against the retaining. There's actually a retaining plate and then the bearing, and that kind of sits up against the retaining plate. Let that drain a little bit because I'm definitely gonna have to clean those threads up so I can get some sealant on it. All right, let's clean up the bolt, guys. Get her nice and shiny and pretty. And shh, always making noise. And I'm gonna put some thread sealant on it, and then also I'm gonna put a washer to seal it when this actually cranks down, this lock one. But I'm kind of getting away from these copper washers. They do work, especially when you torque them correctly. But what works a little bit better is these bonded oil seals. These, I've had really good luck with these. It's kind of a more modern style. You find these a lot on modern cars. And basically all it is the washer on the outside, and it has like a pinion seal style gasket in the middle. And it works fantastic. So we'll find one that fits it just like that. And you just set it up. Let's get this nut all cleaned up. And of course, I'll still put some thread sealant on it. You know, make sure nothing ever leaks. Because, you know, I'm always doing this. Always having to backtrack because something isn't right. All right, let's get it over the truck and see how it feels. And I'm also going to do that for the pinion, for the diff cover. The little one for 3/8, they just punch on there like that. It's kind of nice. And they shouldn't leak at all. All right, guys, let's put some sealant on it and get it put back in. There we go. And then, like I said, some Loctite 545. Absolutely love this stuff. I'm just gonna keep promoting it every time I need to seal something. That's gonna be perfect. And jam it in. So this just needs to be torqued down till, you know, it stops. 30 foot-pounds. And then, I mean, the lock nut, then the jam nut goes to 30 foot-pounds. So, there we go. It's not going anywhere, squashed up against the washer. That shouldn't leak, you know, shouldn't. Okay, back over here, guys. I'm just scraping off all this nonsense in RTV. Got it kind of covered up the best I can so it doesn't just get, you know, everywhere and ruin the diff. Downside to, you know, RTVing is this stuff is a pain in the butt to get off. Normally it wouldn't leak, but I think it leaked because I went ahead and, you know, when I replaced the gasket, I RTV'd it, slammed it on, and immediately put oil in it because I was going to drive it. Definitely did not wait for the RTV to set up, and that was kind of my fault. Get that fixed up though. All right, all cleaned up, looking good. I ended up having to wire wheel it a little bit, but I think I got most of the debris out of there. But this is the brand new rear end. So I told you many times, I've re-geared this to a 355 rear. And for my first time re-gearing, I really do like that tooth pattern. Came out pretty good. The wear pattern looks pretty solid. Pretty happy with that, guys. And what's cool about this rear end, I don't know why GM ever got away from it. It has this ability, you screw these in and out, just like on the Ford 9-inch. So you don't actually have to shim the bearings. So people think that Ford actually came up with that idea. GM was doing that forever ago, and I really don't know why they got away from it. Because, you know, modern, you have to shim the bearings on each side. No, you just rotate this. I really like that a lot better. Man, this was all a lot easier having to do this. Basically being able to sit here instead of having to laying it on my back like I've done it before. Let's get all these nuts and bolts out of here. And this bad boy go on just like this. Now, I have all new nuts and lock washers, so it should go. There we go. Put this one in here at the top. Well, that's all torqued down, and last but not least is our plug. Now I went ahead and put in one of those bonded seals on there too. Yeah, I had one big enough and it fit, so we'll just roll with it. I don't have a gasket for it, so it should be fine. Well, I used the heck out of those bonded seals, so they'll my voice cracked again. I've used the heck out of those bonded seals, so hopefully we'll, you know, it's a good test to see if they actually work. But that checks that off. We are done. I am sitting here in my uncle's truck because, yeah, I don't have one anymore. My truck got stolen during COVID. That was a good time. What I'm doing here is I'm picking up the truck. It's actually finally ready. The downside is let me see if I can show you the weather out here. Yeah, it's the last week of May before we hit June, and it is raining in Southern California. It never does. And of course it's raining on the day I want to pick up the truck, so it's just gonna be what it is. I already have the trailer, we're ready to go. Let me jump inside and see what this thing looks like. I'm excited to see it without rust on it. We are all loaded up and I am headed home. So there it is, already seated back there. I don't know if you guys can see that. The guy didn't want me filming anything, totally understand, no big deal. But it looks good. There is, of course, some spots that need to be addressed. I was kind of surprised by, but it came out overall really good. I'm happy with the idea that I did this. Excuse my voice, guys. I've been battling a serious cold. It's kind of messed me up pretty bad this week. It slowed me down, so the video here probably won't be as jam-packed as normal, but that's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and get this thing home. Thankfully the rain stopped, so I didn't have to just completely waste all my money. But a lot of the rough spots, I'm glad I did it too. We're gonna show you, there's pits, all kinds of stuff that I'm glad really got taken care of. Now let's get this bad boy home safely and see how it really looks. All right guys, let's see if I can get this thing unloaded. I have no room in the garage right now either. They called me last minute to let me know that it was ready. And the cab is inside. Everything is finally back and we can get progressing. It's actually been several days since I actually got the cab inside. I had to go to work and get a bunch of stuff done, but that's just kind of how this goes. Plus, I was sick, guys. It had me on my butt for days, but that's just how it works out. Now, the cab is blasted. It is ready to go. I'm actually really happy with the decision I made just because it definitely got a lot of the thick rust out. The downside is they did not do a good job. I'm pretty frustrated, and let me just go ahead and show you. So here we are. It actually does look pretty good. I'm, like I said, happy because you see all these rust areas, these pitted areas. I'm glad I was able to get in there and get a lot of that done. And man, it shows you how much was really pitted. I'll show you the back, guys. All in here, and then you can see this big just pit marks all the way across. So I'm really glad that we were able to get all that stuff out, at least I know. And what I was really worried about was this belt line here, but it's not as bad. We do have the worst part here, but that we can deal with, and just a couple pinholes across. But I was really worried, especially with all this pitting here, that this stuff was gonna be really rotted out. We ended up having some trouble spots, of course. Nothing's perfect. We have this up here. So this is completely gone all through here, and then a little bit right there. Now for that spot, I already went ahead and contacted some people because that part is like $3 to $3.50 just to buy repop. I reached out to a guy, he actually cut it out of his cab. It's already on its way, should be here later this week. So that is kind of figured out. The big reason why I needed that is I couldn't even try to reproduce this. This is a pretty, it's a compound curve here, leads to a point, and then it has this soft 90-degree bend here. That's, you know, I'm not a metal worker, guys. That would have been pretty hard to deal with. And then on this side, we have, you know, my personal mistakes from when I patched this panel here is apparently I grind this out too much, so we'll have to fix that. And again, in the same spot where I patched it. So a couple little patch marks here, and we'll be able to get that right. And then onto the back, I found, looks like a bullet hole almost. So we'll have to go ahead and patch that up, and then a little bit of pinholes, but I think that's the biggest one. The biggest downside, guys, is, man, this cab is, warped. I don't know if it was the sandblasting. I doubt it was, but it is going to need a lot of work. I don't know if you can really tell. It's got a really nice low in here. So we're going to have to do some metal work there, guys. And the cab's pretty dented up here. It's got a nice dent. The sandblaster said there was a ton of Bondo up here. So I'll have to fix some of those spots. And last but not least, the pillar right here. So a lot of holes and stuff, but that's what sandblasting does. It really just kind of shows you your weak points. We'll go through and get all that fixed up. Now, I know I said they didn't do a good job, and what I was saying was there was just a lot of missed spots. A lot of, I don't know how to say, like laziness almost. Let me show you, like in here, this is still, I mean, that's red. That's the red paint. And that's not even hard area, all right in here. A bunch of these little areas right here was missed altogether. You can tell, you know, this wasn't even touched. And then up inside here, a lot of these like areas were just, you know, missed altogether, slightly grazed over. It was not the best job altogether. I mean, there's actually still rust right here. So, I mean, all along this is rust. Like I'm looking at it, you know what I mean? And coming over to the hood, this was actually out in the rain. When I got there, it was just outside, rained on. I couldn't believe that. And that's why I have literal surface rust on it now. I have to go through and completely strip this hood again mechanically. Now again, yeah, it's been blasted, so I know that the heavy rust is off, the scale's off, but all the surface rust needs to be taken care of. Like, why would you take a customer's freshly sandblasted metal and put it in the rain? I don't it's just, man, you know, and that's just, yeah, let's just go on. And then this hood trim right here is completely rotted out all the way through. I'm just going to replace it. It's not worth metal working that. And then over to the door. This door is completely shot. I already knew that I was going to have to patch this area here, which, man, check out how bad that looks. All of that was going to have to be replaced. But then I came through and this is just completely waffled all the way down, all the way through here. I can't really feel it, but right in there, you can kind of see it on camera. All these dents just scattered through, and you come all the way down here, and this is just really banged in. Not including the fact that, of course, already rotted out down here at the bottom. Now, taking that into consideration, it needs to be reskinned. Long story short, I can spend forever trying to get those dents out, but it needs a whole new skin. And if I'm gonna do that, that's a ton of work, guys, and I really need to get this truck on the road. So, as you kind of already saw in the background when I was showing you the cab, I have a very white door here. So, I again, for, you know, how many doors do I have now? 5 for a 2-door cab. Went out and got another door. I went ahead and jumped on Marketplace and I was like, let me just see if I can kind of find it one more time. So here is one more, you know, factory brand new door. It's actually really cool. This has been completely sandblasted. It is in amazing shape. I mean, check that out. Not a bit of rust. The bottom has never been replaced. It's all original. This is a nice California door. And what all this white is after the guy's already body worked it. It doesn't have a lot of Bondo. I already checked it with the magnet and everything like that. Also, I went through and rubbed the backside. I really checked this thing out, guys. The only downside is it's been cut right here where the support is, so we'll just have to weld in a new piece of metal. My thing is I just hope this door fits, because if you're a longtime watcher of this channel, you know that I spent 3-4, a whole video pretty much, just trying to get the door hinges to fit on the driver's side. So we're going to give this door a try, because if I can just put this on, and it'll save me so much time having to reskin that door. And there's no rust repair on this. It's just ready to go. The only downside is this was pretty beat up right in here, but it came with new handles. What did I do with those handles? I think I already put them away, guys. But also, the guy, I reached out to him, was like, I just need your driver's side door. He's like, I will give you the driver's side, the passenger door, and new door handles for the price of one door. So I ran out there and grabbed it either way. So I do have a new passenger door also, which is in the same great condition. Although our original came out really nice, like really nice, guys. I'm actually really happy with this. There's little to no dents on this entire door. Just, actually, I don't think there are any, like no lows, no nothing. This door feels, I mean, a little bit, there you go. I remember one. So right here, nothing to worry about. The only problem was a little bit of pinholes here at the sill. But honestly, you could fill those in with a little bit of weld, grind them flush, because the trim's just gonna hold that. The only thing is you know, I already knew, is the bottom needs to be replaced. That is completely gone, but that's no big deal. So I'm leaning toward just keeping this door, even though I have a really nice one there, just because I want to have as much original metal from this truck on there. But what is cool is all this steel is not repop stuff. It is original, you know, factory doors. So I'm really excited to try that stuff out, guys. But there it is. There's the cab. And then you guys probably already saw that the back doesn't look done. This is all adhesive left over from the, I had basically this stuff. A cheaper version of the sound deadening, that's the word I'm trying to find. And they couldn't get it off, and they said it would have just warped it if they kind of had tried to, so we left it. We'll go ahead and sand that out, no big deal. Altogether, guys, I'm actually pretty happy with the decision to get it sandblasted, because even though there's a lot left to be desired, it is completely down to metal. Sorry, I told you I've been sick. And I know what I'm dealing with now. Now there's gonna be no more surprise rust. And finally, when we actually get the rust knocked out on this cab, it'll actually be done. So every time I say I think we're done with the rust, I won't be lying this time. And like I said, I have a patch pedal coming for everything. Whatever we don't, we'll get it made up, guys. Just, you know, I'm dealing with companies, you don't get what you expect, but that's just how it is. It's really hard to find good service. It's a big reason why I do a lot on my own. So that is what it is, guys. I'm not even gonna let it get me down. I just really wanna get this project done. And I'm super excited because we're so close to laying paint, I can't even tell you. Now, real quick, big downside, guys, is that I will not be laying paint, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not gonna be doing any or priming this or anything right now, because unfortunately with all the mistakes and everything like that, I'm just going to have to go over everything with the DA. We're gonna have to mechanically strip it, and that's just the decision I made on it. We'll go ahead and just scuff the entire cab, top to bottom, every inch. And that way, we get all the little surface rust, all the imperfections, the water on the hood, everything that happened. We'll get that taken care of. Now, guys, before we do any of that, I wanna go ahead and jump on the oil system. Let's go ahead, and I got the lines so we can kind of get that finally done. So we can close the chapter on that. And also I worked on the sway bar a little bit. I want to show you guys that. So let's go ahead and get started. Now for the oil lines, guys, I have AN fittings. Now, no, these are the knockoff ANs. I could not justify or afford to be getting the expensive name brand stuff. This is off Amazon. I think it's called, actually it's right here. What's it called? Evil Energy is the brand that I went with. They had a lot of great reviews and they were, you know, affordable. I think I paid 60 bucks for this whole little kit here. So that was a lot better than $10 to $20 a fitting, which is crazy. And also the reason I decided to go with that is first off, swivel fittings, which is gonna make it a lot easier to clock where we need to go. And this line is, this AN line is like super pliable, so we'll be able to get some curves to it. Now, but first we gotta go take off the other stuff, so let's get that done. I'm just gonna snip these lines right off and see if I can just unscrew all this. It's kind of a waste. I'm kind of bummed that we aren't gonna use any of this. This has turned into an expensive endeavor. But like I said, we'll just go ahead and get it going. These pipe fittings though will easily be used on another project, so I'm not too worried about it. I'll just put them away. There we go. Man, that came out surprisingly easy. And here, pop these out. Now I did get, so this is an MPT fitting. If you remember when we built the engine, it's 3/8 MPT, and this was already there. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to AN, so I have an adapter. And you know the drill, guys, MPT needs sealant, and I love my Loctite 545. It's what I used on the other stuff, and obviously it worked, so we're gonna go with it. Man, I'm so just still coughing from that, sorry guys. Now, this just goes in like, oh, actually I wanna do the bottom one first. These are aluminum, or aluminium, as I like to go. The downside is you have to use a special wrench. The wrenches are so expensive. So I found this one. It's essentially made for all the sizes. It's just a, you know, basically an adjustable crescent wrench for these fittings. But, you know, one wrench instead of $90 million on 6 or 7 of them for all the sizes you need. So we'll just, only downside is this one will be, you know, a lot of work to get it in there. There we go. Yeah. That was easier to do. That one was tough without it being like a closed-in wrench because it's got the, you know, almost completed, like I said, brake line flare. Anyways, let me go ahead and pop this off. We'll get the same kind of adapters put on here for the AN fittings, and then we're gonna go ahead and route this out. All right, back over at Big Red, guys. I already swapped out the fittings on the actual oil filter itself, so we're ready to go there. And man, I do really need to get some open-ended wrenches. That is gonna be a lot easier. It is really cool having this adjustable, but because of that closed style, it is hard in close quarters. Anyways, that is on. What I want to do now is, if you remember from the last video, I need to waller out a hole. And because one of them doesn't fit. So basically I need to kind of elongate that a little bit. And to do that, I've got my Dremel on a carbide bit. Let's see. Man, that took more than I thought. So I wallered it out quicker than I thought. Let's go ahead and check that out. Is that too much? Is it enough? Here we go. Quick and simple. And if that hole doesn't really have to be on because these two being perfect, kind of already center it. Come on, just go in. There we go. What do we think? Yes? No? Maybe so? Are we in? Oh, beautiful. So that fits perfectly now, and let's drop the nut. That is first thing to do. There it is. Oh yeah. Now, we have a ton of excess right here. Let's kind of just try to make the bracket a little beautiful. Let's not mind how ugly that top is. That'll get hidden under the oil pan, that's fine. So something like that. So what I'm thinking is, we'll just mark here where that is, and then basically do a line straight up to here, kind of get rid of the excess, maybe round the edges a little bit, and we should be good to go. All right, with it like that, let's go ahead and strike that line. I'll just make it straight from there to there. Nothing crazy. Come on. Bam. We'll cut that out. You know, make it look a little better. And there it is, all set up, looking way better. beautiful. I like that a lot better, guys. So we're gonna go with that. Let me go ahead and slam it on and we'll start fitting all those lines up. Okay guys, I have it all mocked up. So I got my bracket in and our pieces, and I already brought a little piece of hose over with the fitting. Now, this is such a tight radius because these fittings are pretty big at the ends here. I do have 45s, but 45s aren't gonna help at all. Maybe on the top one, but not there. So we're gonna have to go straight fittings. Now, I think we're just gonna come here. Luckily, it's pretty pliable. So I think I'm gonna come in with a fitting like something like that. So to cut, I think we should cut right about here. We'll just mark that off because this stuff needs to be cut with an angle grinder. And then fit it up with a piece. Now, I am not familiar with cutting this stuff, or really working with it. Like I said, it's expensive, so I've kind of tried to stay away from it. But from what I understand, it needs to be cut with an angle grinder, so we'll hit it right there. Where are my ears? That wasn't straight at all. All right, that should do pretty good. Didn't fray too bad. And now we try to fit one of these end fittings on. Now, as far as the fitting goes, from what I understand, just slam it in here. Well, let's put the soft jaws on because this is all aluminum. So let's try soft jaws. How about that? All right, kid. There we go. And just, oh, it's all frayed. Okay, tighter. So just twist on. There we go. all the way in. Yeah, all the way in. Sweet, that's not too bad. And then a little bit of lube on here. Just the tip. And smash it in. There it is. And this does not call for it, but I'm just like this. I did it on the other one. A little bit of thread sealant on the threads. And let's punch it in. I mean, it can't hurt, right? Let's see. There it is. One more good turn. Perfect. Yeah, looks ugly. Let's try it out. What do we think? Yes, maybe? Ooh, might be too big. Dang it. That's pretty close. Too big? Oh no, that should work. Oh yeah. Oh, come on. Oh, that's perfect. Just got, the exhaust really does worry me though, guys. All right, there it is, all in. Like I said, it's a nice swoop, but it's perfect. No kinks or anything like that. I actually really like the way that fits up. Now, as you can see, I have the other line here. This is gonna be difficult. There's no way to do like a straight fitting from here to here, so I went ahead and made up another one with a 90. Even with a 90, I think I have to point the 90 like away and then back at it. So it's gonna kinda go in like that. Because if I try to do a 90 straight up, it's just way too tight. So if I give it a nice swoop back, we'll end up with something like that. That looks like the plan, but of course I don't have any more straight fittings because they only sent me 2. I wasn't, you know, I didn't pay attention to that. You know, 2 90s, 2 45s, and 2 straights. So I have some on the way. It'll be here tomorrow though, blessing of Amazon. So I'm not even gonna worry about that. We'll have that for that video, this video, thank God, because I do have a little time tomorrow and we'll go ahead and throw that in. But moving along, what we need to worry about next is the actual oil filter. Now the oil filter does fit all the way around here, but as I was looking at the suspension, and because I got the sway bar to fit, and I'll show you that in a second, that's how close it is to the sway bar, and that seems fine. But if the suspension goes up, the sway bar, this will come down towards the frame. I want a little bit more room. Basically, I would like to get it more level with the oil pan. If you can kind of see there, it hangs a little low down. So I got a different oil filter for that. What I got here is a stubby. Just as wide, but nice and short. It should do just fine. I cross-referenced the numbers for this, and these go on like the 8.1 liter LSs and stuff like that. The ones in, you know, the 2001 to 2007 trucks. So it should be just fine. That holds a lot of oil. It's a big block motor. It should be oiling it just fine. I'm so glad though that I had just changed the oil in that filter. Let's swap it out and see how it looks, guys. There it is. Oh, this filter is not going to be reusable. There we go. All the way off. Well, since the oil in this filter is literally brand new, can we just do like, yeah, anyway, oh, nice. Not gonna fill it all the way up, just a little bit. I will go ahead and spin the oil filter on before we ever start this engine again. Just, let's see how this one will fit. Let's go, oh. The old, what is that? There, the old oil filter gasket was on there. Here we go. Make sure your old O-rings are off. There we go. Oh yeah, that one's like tiny. Looks like a baby filter. There we go. This should do just fine, guys. That's all the room in the world. Let's see, there we go, crank it. It definitely would have been easier to change this off, but I wanted to see how I was going to be able to change in the, well, actually on the truck. And I should have plenty of access. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. And there we go. All the room for suspension travel now. Nothing I have to worry about. It's actually almost tucked up by the frame. It's never going to hit that because we got the bump stop right here, so we're solid. That I can consider done. Now we can close the door on this oil saga. Filter that definitely fits, a bracket that needs to go, and one straight fitting away from actually having the oiling system work. That modification definitely was way more work than I ever thought it was going to be, but I think we got it sorted. Now I was already kind of showing you the sway bar, guys. This is what I did for that. So for those that haven't seen this, this was one of my early videos when I was first doing the truck. I put this new sway bar on. This is an 1 1/8" sway bar, and here are the sway bar links, or the link in the bracket. Now the problem with this is the original sway bar bracket for the GMC. And you can't use the ones that come in the kit because the kits are for the Chevy. Now the Chevy ones are a flat bar, and this one has, I'd say it swoops up to like a 45-degree angle almost on the cross member on the GMC. Basically, this is an aftermarket sway bar, and it wasn't fitting with the original GMC brackets because it's got a little hump here. So we made some little spacers to make this level, and then we put it on, and it still put the sway bar too far forward. Now I didn't bother dealing with it then because I needed the weight of the engine on there. Now that we got the weight of the engine, the suspension is flexed, and I can kind of see what I could do. What I did was I popped it off, and as you can see, that's originally what the holes look like. I slotted the heck out of it till it got all the way down to there. You can even see where that bolt is kissing on it, but it does fit. So our sway bar fits, which takes a load off of me, you know, that way that's done and I don't have to worry about it. Well, it's the next day, guys, and I got the fittings back in from Amazon, and they're the wrong ones. Yep, I did that. Apparently, there's a completely different fitting for the PFTE lines, and here they are, in case I ever need those. So I don't have the line for that, and it won't be here in time for this video, guys, but it's not that big of a deal. I'll get it done, I'll get it put in before we get to the next video, but we're gonna go ahead and call that done for now. And with that, guys, that's a video. That is a wrap. Sorry, it wasn't as jam-packed again. Like I said, I was feeling a bit under the weather, and then with work, it just didn't have as much time as I normally have. But I'm super excited for next week because I promise you, there will be some paint laid on this thing. Underneath, we're gonna undercoat it, get it all primed, epoxied, sealed up. That way we can drop the cab down, and finally, well, hopefully, I keep saying this and promising things. This cab will be bolted to the chassis for the last time. We're gonna bodywork it, do everything with it on there. I'm excited for what's coming next, guys. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. But at first, I wanna say thank you to everyone. I've been having people reach out, emails, Instagram, Facebook, a lot lately, and I do appreciate all those people, you know, reaching out to me, just talking to me about it. It means a lot to me, it really does, guys. I love that you guys are watching it, and it helps you guys with your projects, inspires you just a little bit. The 3, 4 of you that watch, it does mean a lot. Now, with that being said, guys, don't forget, if I can do any of this, any of it, so can you. I'll catch you guys on the next one.